Good afternoon, everybody. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce my guests to you. My first guest, who actually needs no introduction, as she is the UK's foremost writer on luxury, fashion, travel, and of course interiors, Lucia van der Post. She is also the founding editor of the Financial Times How to Spend It magazine, and amongst many other things, she is a columnist and editor for country and townhouses' great British brands. Welcome, Lucia. And then we're also really lucky to have Helen Brocklebank. She is a specialist in luxury media and started her career in Esquire and Harbour's Bazaar magazines. However, she's now CEO of Walpole, which is a marvellous organisation helping to promote British luxury, both here and internationally. So welcome, Helen. You know, I have a real bugbear, and that is the word luxury. Because for almost 25 years, I've been trying to produce a quiet but luxurious product. I've been working with the world's best fibres and the finest European mills to create a luxurious product. But nowadays you can get luxury anything. I was talking to Helen on the phone and she was saying how you could stay at a B&B in Devon and get a luxury shower cap. And on my way here on the M4 today, I saw you can get luxury diesel. So luxury, I mean, you know, you can get luxury plastic bags, you can get luxury anything. So I would like to ask Lucia the first question, and you've written about luxury for many years. What do you think it is, and how is it evolving?
Well, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. I think the word has been very debased, but as we were discussing, we don't seem to have another word. So we're a little bit stuck with it, but it is certainly very much overused. And I suppose my view of luxury is that it is a little bit of a movable feast. I mean, if you're a new young mother and had no sleep, you know, a long weekend it would be your idea of luxury. I suppose when one's very young and still one's wardrobe is rather threadbare, one's idea of luxury is probably, you know, a designer dress. But we sort of grow out of that, I think, most of us. And I suppose what to me is essential for true luxury is something that is sort of very particular and unique, and it will vary for different sorts of people. And I think in interiors, for me, a luxury interior is one that is absolutely deeply connected to the person for whom it is done, so that it couldn't belong to anybody else. It's so much theirs. And I think it's that particularity and the attention to detail that marks out things that are truly luxurious.
And is there any truth to the fact that scarcity creates luxury? You know, like something like Rolls-Royce, you can't get a lot of Rolls-Royce or a Birkin bag.
But I even now think that those wonderful pieces of furniture that when I was first doing up my home I really lusted after, you know, the Eames and the Corbusier, to me now they look a bit pat as a solution. I wouldn't now, they're too ubiquitous. I think there is something that you want, it's that uniqueness, that particularity, that it's so perfect for whatever purpose or wherever it's going to be, that makes something truly luxurious.
And how's it changing over time?
Well, I think the world's got very much more sophisticated. I think the consumer now knows so much more, and that they demand much more. I mean, they really. I was speaking to the marketing director of Liberty the other day. I've written a piece about how retail is changing. I was incredibly taken with something she said, which she said, I don't anymore stock any brands that are faceless. And it's not because the more faceless brands don't produce lovely products, they do. But for her store, she wanted ones where there was a story.
And Helen, how do you see the difference between, say, for example, French luxury and British luxury? Is there a difference, and what do you see that as?
It's very, very diverse in Britain. I mean, we have a kind of high end in every single category. Where, I mean, these are great generalisations, but French luxury is very heavily invested in fashion and interiors. But the sensibility is really exciting. So there's an idiosyncrasy about it, an eccentricity, a quirkiness, this individualism or individuality, and a peculiarity, particularity that I think is really pertinent to a sense of what British luxury means. Interesting thing about British luxury is that 50% of British luxury brands were founded in the last 30 years. And actually we have new brands launching all the time.
But why do you think in the last 30 years so many brands have been born?
I think, I mean, that it's been the last 30 years really that the luxury market as a market has really matured and exploded.
And how do the French feel about luxury then?
Are
they more about big brands, or?
I think it depends on the consumer. So there's in every luxury market, because the market has matured. There's a consumer that's very, very turned on by the big names, but even those very big names are not ubiquitous. There's always something new and now and beautiful and a discovery within a.
I love the story thing, because I think if you've got a story about how something was made and why it's special, it becomes so much more important to you. The other question I've got for you, Lucia, is bespoke the new luxury? We hear a lot about bespoke. We've got a bespoke department in Della Cogna. We do a lot of bespoke things. So is bespoke the new luxury?
Well, I think people do want things that are very particular to them and that are a very precise solution to certain problems.
So do we think then that these huge, big mega brands are going to lose out to the more niche?
Well, what they're doing, of course, is they understand the problem, because they're not fools. And what they're doing is they're having very small runs and enabling you to customise. That's how they're getting around the problem. So that if you go into Louis Vuitton, for instance,
they're becoming niche in their own way.
They're making little niche sub-brands.
Yeah.
And if you're a favoured customer of Louis Vuitton, you get to see some bags in their upper sort of exclusive suite that nobody else gets to see.
So
and there'll only be about 6 of them.
Or
worldwide,
at Hermes, for example, there's you've the Birkin bag that nobody else can have, which they make for you. I mean, it's kind of back to bespoke again.
Yeah.
But that limited access to things, even within brands that have a very ubiquitous name.
Yes, I think Hermes has a deliberate policy of keeping the queue long, so that you really, really want it.
That's the scarcity and the rarity of things.
Yeah. Well, I was telling Bernie the story of a zillionaire I met who's funding a project in Africa. He's made 2 fortunes, and the first one was he invented voicemail. And unfortunately, I've forgotten what the second was, but he sold out for zillions each time. And he said, what do I do with my life? I don't want to sit around watching daytime television. He is helping to restore Gorongosa, which in Mozambique had been bashed by the civil war. But he said to me, and when I opened a talk once on luxury, I opened with this picture of Greg, what's his surname, Greg, sitting round a campfire in his old jeans, eating baked beans out of a tin round the campfire, and he said to me, this is when I know I'm truly happy.
Yeah, and that is luxury.
It's not good news for the makers of handbags.
It's not good news.
But luxury doesn't need to be expensive. It can be exquisitely expensive, but it can
it's
also
an exquisite experience being in a wilderness with the lions roaring and
Absolutely.
nobody else.
And perhaps the true definition of luxury is how it makes you feel.
Yes.
And that's why things like fabrics are so exciting, because the kind of
feel
haptic
and
pleasure
what
of
they
the
can
text,
create.
the tangible feel of something is absolutely there.
You read a lot about young people, millennials, and spending a lot of money on travel and experience. Does that tie into that? Is that the new luxury? Is experience or time
Absolutely.
or privacy more of a luxury nowadays?
My
than
kids
an
want much
actual
less
thing?
than I ever wanted.
Really?
Much less, yes.
I think, maybe in a complicated world, the quest for simplicity becomes more important.
And that's different in every country, isn't it? Because I know in America you have summer curtains, And you have winter curtains.
How blissful to have the weather that meant winter curtains.
That's true, really.
Seasons.
But I think on the whole, less has become more nowadays.
I mean, that's a sustainable thing as well, isn't it? So the drive to buying fewer things feels like an important cultural shift, and that you're perhaps more sensible, and certainly millennials and Generation Z are very sensible about and sensitive to the pressure on the resources that we've got. So then the narrative becomes about buying less, but buying better, so that it is something that's incredibly beautifully crafted, that has been woven in an extraordinary way that will last. You might be paying a lot more for it, but it becomes an investment.
But there's also the change in expenditure. I mean, a huge amount of expenditure that would once have gone on things now goes into wellness.
So wellness luxury. But how does sustainability, recyclable and eco play into luxury, or does it not?
Hugely, I think. The young really want to know. I mean, my children and their generation, they will boycott things that they actually
They consider to be harmful.
Yeah.
Or have have a lack of social responsibility, for want of a better word. So.
Is that a general feeling, do you think?
I do think we're seeing a movement towards that. I mean, I see. Even a brand like Wedgwood, which is quite ubiquitous, I guess, in British China. They've invested a lot of money in manufacturing back into Britain. The consumer pays more for that product, but then that you see the person that's made it. You're kind of part of a big story that's been happening in Stoke-on-Trent for nearly 300 years. So.
Helen, talking about Stoke-on-Trent, I noticed you wrote somewhere that 87% of British luxury is exported.
Yes, I mean that's common to European luxury. So it's a little bit higher in Britain, but pretty much everything that's produced by the British luxury sector is for export. So the markets are the US, they are China, and then the Middle East.
Why is that so high? Is that because British people don't buy into luxury, or these luxury products are geared towards the rest of the world?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, the affluent consumer is in higher concentrations in the US. It's just, look at the scale of the things means that you have more millionaires per square inch than you do in Britain.
Yeah.
And same in China, where there's a big emerging wealthy class, a very sophisticated class. So it's not a specifically British thing. That's same for a Vuitton or a Dior as it is for a Bentley or an Alexander McQueen. I do suspect if we had statistics, if we were able to do the research on it, we'd find that probably the interiors is the one place where that export model is slightly different. It's slightly skewed. If you think about how much we've probably all invested in the bricks and mortar of our houses in London, particularly, it makes sense to invest more in your biggest asset. So.
Interesting. I'm not sure if people would invest in fashion rather than the home. Perhaps clients are more prepared to spend money on interiors than fashion? Because I've often heard clients say, oh, that's far too expensive. And then I look at their handbag. And they've paid £6,000 for their handbag, but £100 a metre.
Handbagonomics bucks every single rational trend,
Yeah.
But people's homes, I get a sense, are so much more important to them than they used to be. I mean, we were talking about the older generation who, that once it was done, they never thought about it. Whereas everybody I know who owns a home now is constantly thinking about how to make it more attractive or function better, or a new kitchen, update the bathroom.
Yeah. And it does feel
shower.
more enduring, doesn't it? So this season's, I've just been at all at the shows in London Fashion Week, and incredibly beautiful things. but I'm also think that all got this idea of built-in obsolescence in a way that fashion has, whereas there is something a little bit more enduring about something you buy for your home, that sense of investment.
And you enjoy it every day, unlike a dress, you know, which you...
How does the digital age affect luxury? How has it affected luxury? And could you feel that same sense of experience if you buy online as you do when you go into one of the new Gucci shops or one of the new Burberry shops?
Well, it's pretty luxurious if you need a dress tomorrow and it arrives in the morning.
Yeah. I think it's really important for the digital buying experience that when the parcel arrives in 24 hours, it comes beautifully packaged.
Well, that was Netta
Yeah.
Porter
Do you
who
think
always insisted on that,
is?
right from the beginning.
To sum up, could you each give me 3 words which you feel a luxury product needs to have to be called luxury, to really be called luxury and stand up to that?
I think it needs for me to have a certain sophistication, a certain charm, and great quality.
So quality is important.
Oh, very.
Oh, thank God for that. Sophistication and charm.
Enchantment, emotion and creativity.
Lovely. I'd like to tie all of those together, actually. I'd like to end this part of our talk. Well, let me give you a quote. Coco Chanel, who's a hero of mine, said, "Poverty is not the opposite of luxury. Vulgarity is." And I think that's so true.
Yes, yes.
So before I show you our collection, which I'm slightly nervous about now, I'd like to say thank you so much to Lucia and
Thank you
thank
very
you to Helen.